is imperative that we have discussions on wheat management, given that all of our Zimbabwean farmers, those that embarked on the 2021-2022 wheat production season, have already established their crops. Thank you, Zimbabwe, for tuning into yet another informative edition of your program. This is Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness, a platform which was specifically created for our farming community here in Zimbabwe. This is where we converge and share ideas on production systems as we pave way towards achieving Vision 2030 as a country. Now, as I've alluded to earlier, we are going to be talking of wheat management. We are talking to that farming community, those that have already established their wheat. And to discuss this and more, I have taken the liberty of inviting once again our regular Wendima Madzura, the Chief Agronomist of SEEDCO right here in Zimbabwe. Wendy, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Wadza. Thank you for having me.
Yes. As we get into our discussion, Wendy, what does it take for a farmer to have a crop such as this one? You can see it's an endless sea of wheat. It's beautiful. Length is even. What does it take for a farmer to reach this stage?
It is an endless sea of wheat, Wadza, and we can even call it green gold at this stage, because you can clearly see that this farmer is set to get a bumper harvest.
Yes.
So the important thing that farmers should take note of are the facts that crops need to be established at the correct time, timeliness of operations from planting, management, weed control, application of fertilizers. Everything should be done optimally and at the right time. That's why we are seeing that here at Seabrain Farm, we are seeing that this crop is ready, and we are seeing that we are at a stage where we are at heading and booting, and we are expecting that from these spikes that we are seeing here, these individual spikelets are going to give us healthy looking seeds that we are going to then take on to the selling season and get profitability out of it.
Yes, thank you so much, Wendy. I want us to go more on this stage that we are in. I understand that some of our viewers there at home did not have do with this season, but they are looking forward to the 2022 season and they are taking notes. This stage that we are standing in agriculturally, what is the name of this stage?
This stage that we are standing in, Wadza, this stage, we call it the milk dough stage for wheat. Okay. And some farmers can call it the heading stage, where we are seeing that this is the head that we are referring to in wheat. It's called the head, it's called the spike. And from this, that's where we get these spikelets, these individual spikelets that we are seeing here. Okay. So a farmer at some point, once the whole crop has headed, we can then count the number of spikelets that you are getting per spike. And it can give you an indication based on your population of the yield that you are going to get. Okay. But looking at this crop, we are anticipating that it's going to give us a good yield. And we are seeing that it's well managed. As you can see, there are no diseases that are seen yet. There are no sprouting weeds that we are seeing from anywhere in the crop, which is a good thing, and it's set to be a bumper harvest.
Thank you so much, Wendy. I like that you alluded to the fact that already it's looking healthy and we are looking forward to a bumper harvest. I want us to talk about the critical factors that a farmer who's established their wheat has to take cognizance of, given at this stage. What do you expect Zimbabwean farmers to be doing, their activities, the factors that they need to consider?
At this stage, all wheat farmers are encouraged to make sure that they are managing their crop, which is why I was quite privileged and happy when you called me to come and do this wheat management segment. So in management, it boils down to three things: the farmer's management, the application of the correct things, and doing it timeously. Yes. So in terms of the farmer's management, it means that you as the farmer, you need to scout regularly in the field to make sure that operations are occurring as designed so that you get the desired results. So scouting is critical at this stage. Once farmers are scouting in their fields, they are able then to detect the economic threshold levels, Wadza, where they can check even on their leaves, the leaves of their crop. They can check to see if there are any signs of infestation of insects that are coming in, as well as the development of diseases. This will help them to come in timeously with control measures when the economic threshold level has been reached. When we talk of the economic threshold level, here we are referring to a stage when we are saying that after that point, that crop is going to incur yield losses.
Yes.
So we don't just come and spray willy-nilly in a crop, because we also want to be conscious of the environment.
Yes.
We also want to be taking agriculture as a sustainable way of living and making sure that we are not polluting the environment in the process and killing beneficial microbes. Okay. So farmers should only come in when they have done their necessary checks and they have seen that there is now need for them to come in and spray for particular insect pests that have reached the economic threshold level.
Thank you so much, Wendy. Speaking of pests and diseases, what kind of pests that can be a threat to a crop such as this one? What kind of diseases are we talking about? Looking that this is an already established crop, it's looking healthy. What would be the threat to a farmer, and what does he have to take into cognizance so that he overcomes those diseases and pests?
In any cropping venture, a farmer should start by understanding the key insect pests that they are going to face in that crop. So this will help them to plan ahead. So when we are looking at a wheat crop, some of the key problems that farmers can face in terms of insect pests, they include aphids,
yes,
they include bollworms, as well as the fall armyworm, because wheat is also in the cereal group. So you find that fall armyworm can be a challenge, especially now that we are seeing that there is an increase in heat units that is associated with the shift from another season, the winter season, into the summer season. So today we were actually getting some calls from farmers, and as we are moving around, we are here getting a lot of inquiries from farmers who are now mentioning that we are seeing aphids in our fields because of the increase in heat units, which was not there in the winter months. So aphids, bollworms, and fall armyworm, these are the critical pests that farmers should manage. And also through scouting, you might even notice another insect pest that you might need to control in your field that is not predominantly there in other fields that surround you.
Thank you so much, Wendy. There you heard it, viewers. Today we are here at Sibren Farm in Mashonaland East. We are looking at wheat management. Now we're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in the second segment. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, viewers. We are in the second segment of your program where we are talking about wheat management, which is an imperative stage when we talk of productivity. Now, viewers, we encourage you to be a part of these conversations. Feel free to get in touch with me, the producer, Wadzanai Manyore, on 0772-807-506. Alternatively, you can like our Facebook page, Agribusiness with Wadzanai. We are also now available on Twitter, and our Twitter handle there is at Agribusiness110. Now, leave your comments and suggestions on our YouTube channel, Agribusiness with Wadzanai. Now, earlier on, before into the break, Wendy here was telling us of being timers, taking cognizance into window periods where you need to do activities, be it fertilization, be it watering, be it irrigation. Wendy, we are in the second segment. Welcome back.
Thank you so much, Wadza.
Yes. As we get into our discussion in this segment, Wendy, I want us to look at the economics, production economics. We understand the name of the program is agribusiness. We are talking of application of business principles in agriculture so that it becomes a formidable business. We have issues in our economy surrounding import substitution. Your comments and sentiments on that in regards to wheat production in Zimbabwe?
You know what, the agriculture in Zimbabwe contributes between 15 to 17% to the GDP. And with that in mind, in Zimbabwe, we consume around 400,000 metric tons of wheat annually. But also bearing that in mind, we have seen that over the years, we have been importing about 60 to 80% of that wheat because we could not satisfy our annual requirement as a nation. But suffice to say that last year, with the efforts of the government and the private sector, we saw an increase in the hectarage of wheat that was established, as well as the yield that was obtained, given that farmers were encouraged and enticed to employ good agronomic practices. So we saw that there was an increase in the yield level that was achieved. And now we are seeing that this year, we've even gone a step above, where we have heard from the Ministry of Agriculture that this year alone, in the winter season, we have established over 65,000 hectares of wheat. And bearing that in mind, we are anticipating that we are going to get a bumper harvest. So the other thing that our farmers should also be taking note of is to understand the quality and quantity of the wheat that they are producing.
Okay, thank you so much, Wendy. I like that you spoke of quantity. Most of our Zimbabwean farmers get into this business so that they make a living out of it. Approximately per hectare, how many tons are you expecting?
Per hectare, it boils down to two things. the type of seed that the farmer uses. That's the first factor. The second factor is the agronomic practices that the farmer is going to employ. Yes. The agronomic practices are going to unlock the genetic potential in the seed that will have been established. So looking at the agronomic practices, farmers are encouraged to employ all the good agronomic practices that include land preparation, timeous planting, fertilization, pest control, weed control, disease management, so that they get the best out of their wheat. And that will give them a yield level. If they choose their seed well, they get a yield level of between 7 to 9 tons per hectare under optimum conditions. Yes. So there are varieties on the market that can go even above 9 tons. We've heard from farmers that have been establishing them that they are doing quite well. The other important factor that our farmers need to take note of, we spoke about the quality.
Yes.
Looking at quality issues, quality parameters in wheat. In wheat production, there is always talk about the need for us to be importing wheat to come in and mix with the wheat that we produce here, because our wheat here is not suitable for bread making, which is a misconception a bit, which is there. It boils down to the quality of our wheat. We need to make sure that we produce wheat which has a high protein. A protein level of 11%, 12, 13% is going to be adequate enough for you to produce your wheat. In Kwekwe at Sherwood Block, there are some farms who are establishing the wheat that we do here in Zimbabwe. We breed here in Zimbabwe and the farmers produce that wheat and go straight to the millers to do their bread without even mixing it with anything. The other important factor is the gluten. The gluten speaks to the elasticity of the wheat, where the bread is going to then rise and produce a soft bread that we desire and we like. So the gluten content also boils down to the variety as well as the management. When we are looking at the management in terms of quality, we talk about even the fertilization program, where you need to look at the level of the nutrients that you are applying and when. Where if you are applying your nitrogen, yes, there is the nitrogen that you are applying for the vegetative stage of the crop, for it to grow and become vegetative as it prepares for the reproductive stage. But once you get to the reproductive stage, if you apply an extra amount of nitrogen, some farmers come in with about 150 kgs of nitrogen fertilizer to just give that crop a boost as it gets into the reproductive stage. And we have seen over the years that will contribute to the quality improvement of that wheat.
Yes, thank you so much, Wendy. You spoke of quality when it comes to enjoying our bread, our cakes, our spaghetti, our macaroni. I want us to touch a bit on food security. I know that you did touch on it. Let us talk about food security. If you look at Sustainable Development Goal 1 and 2, accordingly, it talks of poverty alleviation and eradication of hunger. We are saying it is possible for us as Zimbabweans to produce our own wheat because we have the comparative advantage. We have the climate, the suitable soils, and we also have the expertise in the form of you, Wendy, our agronomists, who will be always traveling around encouraging our farmers to employ good agronomic practices. I want us to touch a bit on food security.
Food security, we need to understand that food security does not speak only to production being done at a commercial level.
Yes.
Food security speaks to production being done even at a communal and a small scale level, where you know that our farmers in Zimbabwe, a significant chunk of them fall within the belt of the small scale and communal farmers.
Yes.
So if everyone does their part to contribute towards food security, then we will be steps ahead in terms of achieving our sustainable development goals by 2030. So this will also put us in a good position to achieve these goals. So you also understand that food security, it doesn't mean that you need a large hectare of land. And I was happy this year to learn that even small scale farmers with small irrigation plots and those areas where there are swampy areas, where there are waterlogged conditions or areas where there is moisture for a long period, those farmers manage to establish their wheat. And even in irrigation schemes where there are groups of people who are working in a group, maybe a collective group of 20 people, doing about 1,000 hectares each or 0.1 of a hectare, those people manage to establish wheat, which is why today we are boasting proudly of the hectare of wheat which was established by our farmers. It's not only by commercial farmers but small scale farmers. So as a nation we need to understand that food security, for us to achieve it, we all need to do our our part. Everyone needs to establish even a small piece, a small block, a small garden area. If you have irrigation, you can put in your wheat crop even in the next season,
yes,
or any other crop that contributes to food security. And food security issues don't only speak about volumes of production in terms of quantity,
yes,
but we also speak of the quality of the produce, where we need to produce enough to then be able to export and rather not be net importers.
Yes.
So it's important for us to get to that stage as a nation. And at some point, we hear talk that we were the bread basket.
Yes,
the bread basket of Africa. So we want to go back there as a nation, and we can. We have the resources, we have the agricultural land that is good for production, and the climate is also suitable. So we also encourage our farmers to jump on board and take farming as a formidable business.
Thank you so much, Wendy. There you heard it, viewers. We have come to the end of the second segment. Indeed, we can go back and be the bread basket of Africa. We have the comparative advantage, and we also have expertise in the form of our agronomists. Take, for example, Wendy here. There you heard it, viewers. We're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in the third and final segment. Stay tuned. Thank you, Zimbabwe, for staying tuned to Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness. We are here in the third and final segment where we are talking of wheat management. Now, in segments prior to this one, I was joined by the Chief Agronomist of SIDCO, Wendima Tashu Madzura. She was taking us through the fundamentals of wheat management. At this point in time, I am joined by Victor Kango. He is the manager here at Cybrant Farm, located in Bromley, Mashonaland East. Victor, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Wazanai. Thank you, viewers. We are here at Cybrant Farm. We have established a crop of Nduna, 160 hectares, which was grown in different stages. Where we are here, there's about 20 hectares, which is our last planted crop, which was a late crop planted on the 25th of June. We started by stamping this land, followed by reaping, and then planting with 30 millimeters of irrigation after planting. Then we had to stress the crop for 21 days. Then we put our herbicide after that. Now we are putting our top dressing.
Yes. Yeah. Before we go on that, I actually wanted us to touch briefly on I can see behind us we have tractors, we have a Vicon, and we also have a boom sprayer. Yeah. What are you doing?
What we start after hardening our crop, we start by putting our herbicide. The reason why we put our herbicide first before our top dressing is in case maybe we might have a breakdown after top dressing before the herbicide, then the weeds will grow very big. So we start by putting our herbicide, then after the herbicide, the same very week, we come up with our first top dressing.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Kango. It was a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you, Wazanai.
Yes.
Thank you, viewers.
At this point in time, I am joined by Mr. Blessing Mwaramba. He is the assistant manager to Mr. Kango, who was here earlier on. Mr. Mwaramba, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Wazanai, for taking me to this program.
Yes. As we get into our discussion, Mr. Mwaramba, I want us to talk about machinery. I understand that your farm is highly mechanized, and you have gotten to the point of establishing a 160-hectare wheat crop using your tractors and the various machines that you use. What are your sentiments when it comes to issues surrounding even calibration and the use of machines?
Thank you, Wazanai. Firstly, to start, with the machines, you move very fast. That's one thing for a fact. Where without a machine, you won't cover as much as 160 hectares in the required parameters and specifications in terms of covering the area, in terms of doing it properly. As you have asked and said something along calibration. Calibration is also something that is also an advantage to us as farmers. You do your things properly. Yeah. Because once you want to apply, you say you want to apply 1 liter, it's just an example, you do that because obviously a machine can be sorted to give us exactly what we precisely up to exactly what we'll be looking for.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Mwaramba. It was a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you, Wazanai, for coming and taking us to this program.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, viewers, for staying tuned to Agricultural New Directions. I am with agronomist Otrina Mashid. Otrina, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Wadza. Hello, viewers.
We are headed towards the summer cropping season. Some of the good agronomic practices that you can tell our viewers there at home.
Thank you, Wadza, for the question. As we're heading towards our supper cropping, I would like to encourage all farmers to be mindful of the good agronomic processes in our system of agriculture. For example, the importance of taking soil samples. Not many farmers really consider the importance of taking soil samples because they think that it's a waste of time. But that is very crucial, Wadza, for any farmer to realize what their soil has, and in order to produce much. So you should have your soils tested. You should know what is lacking. You should be able to fix in and to fit in what is required, and depending with your crop. And also, farmers should learn to properly plan their programs. Like, we're coming out of the winter season, they should be knowing what to grow in the summer season. They should have their inputs on time. They should have everything done accordingly. Record keeping, knowing what and when to do what they want to do, knowing what inputs to get, knowing how much, even their budgets, they have to be budgeted. You know, you don't want to be found wanting at the last minute. So everything has to be spot on, everything has to be clear. Your land preparation has to be on point. Thorough land preparation, not just feja. You know, now you're running out of time and you now want to plant, and now you're just like land prep today and tomorrow you're planting. Everything has to be done on point and on time, Wadza.
As we round off, some of the women out there would want to participate and partake in making sure our economy survives here in Zimbabwe. Let us talk about your contributions. You're a female agronomist. Your comments, your contributions, your word of advice to our farming community, especially the female farmers.
As women, we can do it. You know, there's a saying that says, when you educate a man, you've just educated one person. But if you educate a woman, you've educated the whole nation. So women, please come on board. Let us do this. Though this is a male-dominated environment, I'm doing it. So you can as well. Let's get on board. Let's get our partners. Let's come into agriculture. Let's do it. Let's show the nation what we women are made up of. Thank you, Wadza.
At this point in time, I'm joined by Ronald Mangena. He is the head of marketing and business development, Avant Investments, which is running Sebren Farm. Ronald, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Good day, viewers.
Yes. What do your activities encompass? What are you into as the head of marketing and business development?
Okay, thank you so much. So as Avant Investments, we have a variety of portfolios that we run. And one of them is actually corporate farming that we're doing here at Sebren Farm. Now, the objective really is we're actually in line with government's objectives in the NDS-1 that was given out by the Minister of Finance. And agriculture is actually the main driver in Zimbabwe for many years. Since independence, we all know that agricultural activities is what exactly we need to achieve. And now looking at the prospects coming out of the plans that are coming out from the Ministry of Agriculture, as a corporate, we made sure that we should invest heavily into farming. And I'm sure you went around and saw the 160 hectare wheat that we have. We actually have more crops that we are growing. We actually have potatoes here that we're growing, even animal husbandry. And at the moment, actually currently exporting wheat in one of our projects that we're doing as a company. So agronomy is actually going forward in our investments, and actually from what we get, the profit that we get, then we invest in the other portfolios that we invest in.
Thank you so much, Ronald. That was very detailed. As we round off our episode, we have come to the end of our episode. I want us to talk about issues surrounding profitability, the lucrativeness of any enterprise. I understand that you are head marketing and you deal with such issues. Your word of advice to our farming community in terms of ensuring that farming becomes a formidable business.
All right. I'm sure many of the guys who you've interviewed, especially the agronomists, have mentioned that farming should be taken seriously as a business. And that's actually what it is. And for you to be successful in farming, to actually get that extra dollar in profits, you make sure that in the budgeting, way before you start planting, the budget must be correct. And then you make sure that your agronomists and your farm managers and the guys at the farm actually get their implements on time, so that the charts that they draft are actually on point, so that at the end of it all, when you harvest, you get that extra dollar. So I'm actually encouraging more corporates to join into farming here in Zimbabwe. It's actually profitable and it's fun, and there's lots of money to be made. Remember the sustainable development goals we need to achieve: zero hunger, alleviation of poverty, and number 17, the one that talks about partnerships. The partnerships that we have with government and corporates and private partnerships as corporates, let's come together and make sure that we then go into farming, take it seriously. Because the next thing after such a project, obviously then we look into value addition.
Yes.
And we make sure that we export, we get the extra dollar from value addition. So that's the encouragement I'm giving to all corporates out there and people who are actually interested in farming. Yes, farming does have good money, but the commitment, the passion, and the documentation is key to make sure you make success.
As we are surrounded by issues in our economy such as food security, import substitution, export growth, you would find that we'll be able to address all of that if we take farming as a formidable business. Now we are saying that the corporate sector can be involved in agricultural activities so that we maximize on our profits and we ensure that we can be able to account for each and every dollar invested. From me, your host was Zanai Manyore. I'm also on Instagram. It's a W Manyore. And the crew behind the scenes. Have yourselves a fabulous evening. Thank you for watching.